which of course later on, we all know, the National Party subsumed itself into the ANC. Yeah, so that project, we believe, could not fundamentally change the conditions of black people in this country. And the university, and I'll come back to talk about how the university is a great example of how you want to think about the continuation of racism or the white supremacist project in democracy. If you look at how the university is organized. I was thinking, where is the epitome of white supremacy? And I know that black thinking is outlawed by and large. If you look at any of the courses that you do, check the readings that they give you and try to make a study how many of them, most of the time, will be African thinkers or writers. Very few. Now, I thought I should introduce to you, if you don't have to agree with what I say, but I hope you can do this. There are two critical thinkers in this country who the university like this one will not talk about. Firstly is Louis Nkosi. Louis Nkosi, of course, comes from the writing sort of background. But Louis Nkosi, check his writing. Check his attitude to knowledge. Check his attitude to the black condition, the black question. And I want to dedicate this talk today to him and to the late Professor Achimafeji. Achimafeji, single-handedly, by 34 he was a full professor. If you study anthropology, I know they have not told you about it. Because he has single-handedly destroyed a science of anthropology and showed it to be a colonial study. Single-handedly. And he was not like me, he was not howling. He did very detailed scientific studies. And in fact, if you want, go to Achimafeji online, you will find his debate with other scholars in that field. But I know Ben is not going to tell you, your white professors are not going to tell you about Achimafeji. So I'm saying today I want to dedicate this talk to both Louis Nkosi, who is very aging now, he's very sick man in South Africa, and to Professor Achimafeji, who has passed on. I think if you're serious about thinking and change, you have to understand this. There are more, there are many more, but I thought I should put it there. Now today I want to talk about black country racism. I'm told that when people were also giving out some of these pamphlets, some brothers and sisters said, no, you can't say black country racist. I am racist, I hate white people. Okay? And I was thinking that how do you get around that point? Because that is the most natural response that black people should have against white racism. We should hate people that oppress us. We should hate systems that oppress us. But you see, we've been messed up so much that we can't even say it. But hatred is not going to take you very far, you see. So I was thinking about maybe we need to, just to deal with this problem, think about Malcolm X a little bit. Because Malcolm X helped us to organize our thinking. You know that whole thing about the field Negro and the house Negro. You see, and this is what democracy has done as well. You have your field Negroes and your house Negro. The house Negro is the guy who's close to whiteness. You know, back then in the plantation, the house Negro was given the leftover food, was given the clothes of the master, and he loved the master, and he spoke like the master. And in fact, when the house of the master was on fire, he wanted to save it, and when the master was sick, he prayed to the Lord that please, God, save us. He never said, even he don't say, save the master, say, please God, save us. The house Negro, one of the problems is that even when they could hear the agony cry of the field Negro being beaten, they still did not accept that the whole institution of slavery was based on violence. They loved the house of the field of the master so much that they wanted to save it. The field Negro on the other hand, just like those sisters and brothers were saying they hate white people. When the master was sick, they prayed to their black gods that the master must die. When the house of the master was on fire, they prayed to their black god that more wind must come and burn down those blacks. So those are field Negroes. At the end of the day, whatever we say, I think when I come back to this question, are we field Negroes or are we house Negroes? That is the bottom line. If how you understand democracy, how you understand the place of black people, it's going to come back to that issue. Now I'm going to quickly try to show us how we were created as black people to deal with the issue of racism. Fact number 3, this red one says black can't be racist. The context was this, that in 2008, something called the Forum for Black Journalists had something called the Forum for Black Journalists. They called the president of the ANC, Jacob Zuma, into a meeting of the Forum of Black Journalists to address them. In a closed meeting, it's not a press conference. White journalists decided to get cash into this meeting. And the white journalist, a black journalist, said, no, of course you can't do this, this is white arrogance. And the white journalist went to the Human Rights Commission and complained that by being excluded from that meeting, that is anti-constitutional, against our constitution, but it's also racist. So the black journalists are racist by excluding white journalists. And the white journalists also said it was against our constitution. So we had hearings at the Human Rights Commission. I made a submission. This reading is based on that. It surprised me a lot that after 350 years of systematic oppression of black people by racism, which benefits white people, when black people get together in their own meeting, white people can insist they want to be part of that meeting. And then, of course, complain about being victims of racism and end of it. By the way, after that whole process, the Human Rights Commission came to the conclusion that, in fact, it is indeed true that our constitution does not allow black people to be among themselves without the supervision of white people. It went further to say that the Forum for Black Journalists must amend this constitution to include white people, otherwise it must stop to exist. Those who study law amongst you, I'm sure you know Moriani, Advocate Moriani is a senior counsel. He actually wrote the appeal. I saw it. I thought it was watertight. I thought they would win the appeal. Again, out of reading very closely our constitution, the Human Rights Commission could not help but come to the same conclusion that black people, you cannot meet amongst yourselves, you cannot fight racism as black people. That for me worried me a lot. How is it possible in a racist country black people cannot be allowed to organize on their blackness? And I said, let's look at this racism question. And I'm arguing really this thing that what we need is conceptual stability. In other words, a chair is not a table. To make sense, we gotta name things and give them their properties. Racism is not xenophobia, even if they are both about discrimination. It is not patriarchy, even if patriarchy is as bad in some ways as racism. Racism describes the process of black people's subjugation. If you don't do that, if you don't ring-fence this definition like this, what you do is racism becomes everything and everyone can tend to be victims of racism, and black people as a result are unable to make claims for reparations, for slavery, for colonialism, for apartheid, and continuing exclusion of black people. You have to understand that. If racism is everything, you are right there. If you say white people can become victims of racism, what we have done right there is to wipe the historical slate clean of the specialized, unique ways in which black people have been oppressed over the ages. We alone, only us, were enslaved in the manner that we have been enslaved. Us alone were colonized in the manner that we've been colonized. Capitalism today and white civilization, if you like, are created out of the sort of oppression that us as black people, us alone, have suffered. This is the point I was trying to make. And this is the point that we make about breast cancer racism. Steve Biko helped us a lot here because he says racism, and he defines what is racism. Racism is the subjugation of one group by the other for the purpose of subjugation and exploitation. Now we black people do not have, I don't think we have any intentions of subjugating anyone. I don't think when we talk about black liberation, we talk about oppressing anyone. In fact, normally we say in black ones that all we want is to share in the wealth of our country. And I can tell you about sharing in the wealth of the country. I hope that you guys know who holds the wealth of the country right now. I hope you know when you look at the JSE that even if there be black capitalists who are part of the white supremacist project, you don't own 10% of the JSE. 16 years later, the ANC has made sure that only 6% of the land has been distributed to black people, and it means that more than 80% of the land is still in white hands. The ANC has ensured that in the same period, more than 1 million black people have been evicted from farms by white farmers. I say the ANC because finally the responsibility of transforming the society must rest with the majority party that can, if it wants, even change the constitution by getting just one support from the PAC. It hasn't. You see, this business of us suffering racism does not mean at all, does not mean that we must not take responsibility for the continuation of the oppression of black people. We must, and we need to be very clear. White people are 10%, they're not the problem. Think about it. White people are not a problem, and we should not waste too much time about it. The problem is this, and it's an unfortunate problem. The day black people want to change the society to get the wealth, the gold, the platinum, the land, the people we're going to confront is the African National Congress and government. If you have not figured that out, we are in trouble. And the internalization, let me just go back quickly and explain now, in my view, the three related processes that create the black person out of this white experience. You have to think about the black as a creation of whiteness out of a very violent process. And in South Africa, it is three related dispossessions. The first dispossession, the land dispossession. They dispossessed us of our land. It was a very violent process. The second dispossession is labor dispossession. They turned us into workers, servants. And when they discovered gold and diamond in the mid-1800s, they took land even when they did not need it. So because they wanted workers, they wanted us to become workers, come to work on the mines with their mines. Because if we still have access to land, then we don't want to come to work for the white man. They come to your village and take your land and force you to come and work on it. And Marxists tell us that it's a good thing to be a worker. Cecil John Rhodes said back then, he said, we must make it sure, we must tell these black people that with time, they're just going to become workers. Now people fight to become workers. They have to think about it. And every year they strike for 10%, which is about 150 rand. The third dispossession process is what I call the dispossession of the African being. The destruction of our Africanness was led by two processes. One is their education, their white education, and second is their white God. Christianization and education. When they give their education and their God, when they're done with you can't remember who you are. And we must also say this, that it was not a peaceful process. Those people who read history can look at the story of Theo Soga, for instance, how he surrendered his sons to white education. It was Theo Soga's father, I think. It was a painful process, but he knew that if he did not surrender his sons to white education, they will be destroyed. Their God was a very, very violent God. If you did not agree to their God of commerce, they come and destroy your family and your community. So we must understand that. When these three processes were concluded, we're sitting as we are now with a situation of the complex, our complex of an oppressed and excluded people, and the white complex of superiority. But these things find expression in materiality. We know black people must look for jobs to work, to live. When you finish this university, you are going to work for big companies owned by white people. Normally, I say, if you think about the educational process, of colonial education process, the first people they cost educated were the Xhosa-speaking people in the Eastern Cape. They made them the first, I call them the first coconut country. Nelson Mandela's mannerism and Thabo Mbeki's mannerisms, I mean, I'm part of that. They dress and speak like English gentlemen, they're Xhosa English gentlemen. And in some ways, I think they really believe that they are. You know, that Chinwele would be Nigerian scholar make the point that colonial education is almost like giving mind the education of care. A mouse without an orientation and education of the cat, when it naturally sees the cat, runs away. That's the natural response. But if you take a mouse and you bring it to bed and you give it a lot of education and it assimilates and it believes itself to be a cat, when it sees a cat, it sees a friend. And now the problem is that the friend, which is a cat, sometimes it is hungry. Let's just go back there. I've just spoken about the creation of the black out of this relationship of violence between the encounter with whiteness. I've not spoken about whiteness, but I can simply say this: that the benefits that accrue to white people, whether it's economic or it's social and political, have become naturalized. Out of all that violent process of marginalizing us black people, marking us out in terms of our skin color for the sort of oppression that I've mentioned, they have accrued all these privileges. And in our thinking and our thought processes, when we see a black, you can almost put those characteristics of blackness. You know, you are all these other things which are not nice. When you see a white person, you don't even have to think about it. They'll get, in fact, even at university, I'm told you guys I want to do anonymous marking again. Maybe I should just go back and say, when I came here in February, there was a place, I think they call it accommodations office. There was a lot of black students there at Wits. Some students at Wits traveled by train to come to university. A student fainted here from lack of food. And you know what the system, the education of the cat does to us? We are shameful. We take responsibility. It's like it's our fault. So you see, we are beginning to police the system of ourselves. Instead of saying, wait, we are entitled to be at university, to be well fed, to be well housed, because this is our country. You don't organize on that basis. You organize, you feel individually ashamed, but that's part of the geological process. Now I think we must not waste time about whiteness, but whiteness will get all the privilege that you can never get. Even the white revolutionary will get the privilege that you can never get. Even when John Slobo died, he's buried right now in Soweto. You must go to his grave, you see. He is the only person who's been identified by name amongst a lot of black people who are sleeping there. I'm saying to you, even if the white person died for you, you'll be forgotten, they will not be forgotten. And I'm not saying you should not have white friends. It's okay if you have white friends and girlfriends and that. But I'm saying you gotta understand that it's a lie to say skin color. They teach very bad sociology these days. They say race is a social construct. Therefore race has got no scientific basis. What is not socially constructed? Even God is socially constructed. Everything we know socially. Class and gender are all socially constructed. Why is race not socially constructed? Or is socially constructed but God knows? We as black people, if you are aware and you open your eyes, you can feel, you know. When you move into a room full of white people, you know. I'm going to run this off by going back to a difficulty. Once we have established, I think we have in some ways established the fact that we need to defend the discourse that says blacks can't be racist. For the reasons that I've given, if you don't do that, you are not giving yourself a chance to make claims to this society about the reparations that are due to us as black people. Then, book and response, it's like it's open season for everyone. And what it means is that they're going to say you are racist. The victim is going to be the perpetrator. And the best way to shut down a black person who talks about racism is to say you're racist. But you see, also black people, the trauma of accepting that we are victim of racism is serious. It's better not to accept it. It's better to pretend otherwise. It's better to think, no man, you know we are all equal. It's better to pretend that the Constitution says, despite the fact that your people live in squatter camps, your people live in townships, your people live in RDP houses, and that brings me to the ANC. you have to ask yourself the question, how did the African National Congress government think it's okay to build an RTP house for black people? A house which is worse than the house built by white people for black people. How do you understand this? How do you understand that process? Now I'm arguing here in conclusion that the managers of the white supremacist project today are black people. In the 21st century, white supremacy needs a bit of melanin. Needs a little bit of melanin to reproduce itself. So in South Africa in 1994, you have Nelson Mandela. In the United States of America today, you've got Obama, right? Has Obama's presidency changed the condition of black people who remain in the death rows? If you go to the death rows of America, the people who have been killed are black people. If you go to the jails of America, the majority of people who are there are black people. Obama has not touched that system. He has given it a respectability. George Bush was good because he was clear. And he was also stupid about it. We're going to bomb the world in the interest of white capital in the US. Obama is bombing the world with a smile, allowing our people to be killed with a smile. Now, in South Africa, I think the same thing, the ANC is the manager of the white supremacy system, and we vote for it year in, year out. I'm going to be cruel and say, in the same way that if you look at Wits, the vice chancellor is a black man, one of us. However, if you look at the culture and the interest of this institution, it remains white. Yes. The fact that it's sitting on top of this institution does not change the truth of faith. In fact, some of my friends have asked, it is true also that it is not just Wits. The UCT was given to Mandela to run for a few years. She made sure that it does not change, that she could not change it, by the way. This is the important thing. They will not allow her to change it. Before Professor Norma, there was another black professor, Makhoba, who is now the professor at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. I was on campus at the time. Makhoba arrived here with very, very strange ideas of wanting to Africanize Wits. Very, very quickly, that man was out of this university.
Yeah, can't touch the white skin.
One of the most celebrated, and I don't agree always with Mahmoud Mamdani, one of the celebrated social scientists who come from the African continent, contemporary, is Mahmoud Mamdani from Uganda. He went to UCT and they called him because he was becoming a celebrity intellectual and an academician. And when he arrived there, he wanted to change the curriculum and to Africanize it. You can find this Mamdani controversy online, and you can see what they did to him. The man did not stay there for 2 years. He had to be kicked out because he started saying, no, you know, there are African scholars and thinkers that we can describe to the students. So I'm saying that we have to think very hard about how white supremacy reproduces itself. In fact, in concluding that aspect of my talk, I think that Obama is not possible to have Obama as the president if you don't have two other black people before you, Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice. And it is important to remember that Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice were appointed by the Republicans, the most conservative. But you see, they could see that these black people can serve the system very well. And so, Obama has to give it a chance. Most of it because he's such a smart man and he speaks well and apparently he's also handsome. I think I must stop there and just correct by saying that the constitutional dispensation that we have in South Africa is anti-black itself. And de Klerk, F.W. de Klerk, when he recalled 20 years after releasing Nelson Mandela, he said, and it's there online as well, he said, yeah, when we negotiated with the ANC, actually tell the truth, we won in those negotiations. He said it with arrogance. He said it like, I think early this year, it was the 20 years of Nelson Mandela. And he said, then somebody asked him, how you said this? He said, you see, what we've done is we knew there was going to be a majority in parliament. But we made sure that they could not make any law that they wanted to make. So we guarantee this by having a constitutional court, which is informed by constitutional principles, which will make sure that these guys, even if they are in parliament, they make laws, those laws must still come under constitutional review. For instance, if the ANC tomorrow wanted to say, let's have a law that said the land must be returned to black people without paying compensation, the constitutional court will strike that down as unlawful. But I must also say that the ANC is not interested in testing even that. Because it does not try to do this. It does not make any radical law to retain our land or to retain our mineral resources, and I would be very worried to give my mineral resources to the ANC under the current regime. Imagine what they're going to do when they can get access to these minerals. I mean, look at what they've done with ESCOM. What they've done with everything else that we've given them to manage. So I will not, but all I'm saying is, even if they tried, the constitutional dispensation they've negotiated and they have accepted and they're not testing is anti-black. Let me stop there and maybe let's have a conversation amongst ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, I think we got fair amount of time. So what I'll do is I'll have 4 hands in each round. So the first round will start now. Okay. Man at the back. Yeah, that's 4. Okay. 4.
Yeah, I just want to deviate a bit from the spot. We're talking about black and racism, but we can be what is called tribalistic. How does it venture into the whole black and racism? Because if I'm racist to my elder brother, then eventually it means I can be racist to a white man.
Mine is on, I heard you speaking on SAFM yesterday. I would like to know what do you think we should do with the continued spread of organizations like AgriSA that this land is taken back to left people, white farmers are going to leave the country, and what do you think about the attitude of entitlement among some of us who are black?
We tackle the issue of the constitution, and I'm interested in the fact that did you have any other option to really make a constitution other than incorporate the national party into it? And you said that it accommodates built to show white interest, or you said it's anti-black, that's what you said. Did you have any other option, or were we not going to go into some kind of civil wars and stuff if we couldn't use, go according to the rules that you used during the time when the thing was formulated?
Thanks. I just want to deal with the concept of conceptual fidelity. We have defined. Just don't engage the definition of racism. Trying to cry out to the principle of conceptual fidelity. Now, if racism is subjugation of one group or another, why do we only focus on one form of subjugation? Can't the subjugation be attitudinal? If I have an attitude but lack the power to subjugate, why can't I qualify as a racist? The only thing that I seem to lack is the power, but if I had power, I would have subjugated it. So I think that conceptually there is something unhygienic.
Okay, I think that the issue, my brother, you say tribalism. For me, that's what it is. The sort of intra-black difficulties, that's tribalism. We know what it means. It's not racism. Even if it is a form of exactly. You will not call tribalism patriarchy, right? Because that describes another form. You see what I'm saying? You will not call anti-Semitism xenophobia. It seems to me a very straightforward question to me. Otherwise, we don't know what we're talking about. Then the blackboard is racist. It comes back to the issue of attitude. Attitudes, I can have an attitude of, I don't like tall people. Right? So what? I see tall people, I don't like them, so what? You see, but racism has material consequences. So coming back to your issue, it's not an attitudinal issue. It's not that I don't like the weave or I don't like dreadlocks and that. So what? Racism makes sure that there's Alexander and there's Stanton. And in Stanton is white people and Alexander is black people. And the creation of Stanton is directly linked to the creation of Alexander. Do you understand that logic? No. I can't help you. I can't help you. The white world is created out of the subjugation of black people. Historically. Now, you must tell me if I'm wrong there. That there were not laws, systematic laws that made sure that black people lost everything and white people benefited. You must tell me that, no, this is not true. This is not a historical trajectory that we have followed. If as it seems to me this is true, then of course, to have attitude and lack power, I mean, it's like, I think, my brother, if you lack power to do the stuff that you imagine, we must stop the debate right there. I have a desire to kill you, but I don't have the capacity to kill you. So what? You continue to live your life, and I continue with my desire to kill you, but it's got no material benefit. And I do think that black people have desire to kill white people. Yeah, but you see, when we talk about xenophobia, we kill those people. We kill our black people. And I don't call it xenophobia, by the way. It's Afrophobia. Because xenophobia means you're killing foreigners. We don't kill foreigners. White people are visitors, investors, tourists, and so on. We don't have power. Even if we wanted to, we have no power. And I mean, in this essay, there's a very interesting passage where James Baldwin talks to this white woman who says she was in Guinea at the time. And she says there were 200 men, wild white black men. And I was the only white woman sometimes in that plantation. But they knew that if they touched me, maybe 20 or more of them would be killed. She said it was only white supremacy that made sure that I could control these wild, very violent fighters as a lone white woman in the jungle. If you don't believe me, you must ask Mugabe what white people and white supremacy can do to you. If you touch them, you can ask him. Or you can ask another guy. Who's that man who killed this white wife in the US? O.J. Do you know where O.J. Simpson is now? That man is in jail, serving 30 years or so. For what? For his own stuff, which was taken by some people and went to get it back. And they took him and they remembered, by the way, we must still sort this man out. Don't play around with white people. Okay, I'm going to try to be quick. The other brother asked a question about the threat of white farmers. White farmers are saying in this country, if we take not even take the land, the white farmer cried on radio. She said, these people we love, the farm workers, we treat them well. How can you say there's human rights abuses? And she cried on radio. And they say if we give farm workers any more rights, they're going to go away. They're going to leave South Africa. And they're going to be put in security and we're going to die from hunger. So we must leave the situation as is. And I don't want to tell you what's going on farms. My brother, my point is a simple one. We must make a decision between whether we want to continue in this slavery path or we want to take our country back and maybe suffer a little bit of consequences, but be like Zimbabwe. And give me another 5 years, you will see that country is going to... Let me tell you right now. South Africa is 300 years behind Zimbabwe. You guys, I'm telling you, you are 300, you will never touch the Zimbabweans on the capacity to take back their land, their economy, and being an independent country. You will not. And let me tell you, I can talk in 15 years, in 5 years in fact. You can check online a study done by Professor Ben Carson on Masvingo, that place, where people have taken land. Check it, Ben Carson studies, it's there online. He did, and I stopped talking to Ben Carson because he was hating the Zimbabwean land reform process, and I was supporting it at the time. He went there for 3 years study. He comes back and he says he's shocked by the results. The results show that those people who did occupy land lived slightly better than those who didn't. That's number one. But even more, those white people who stayed behind, there are some white people in Zimbabwe. Their relationship with black people in Zimbabwe has dramatically improved. You see, if you take the power to be racist, white people become nice people. Okay, I mean, no, maybe we will come. You said there was no other. You see, the thing is the question whether in 1994, if we did not negotiate our rights away, was there another possibility? The truth is, even if I accept that maybe there was no other way out, you have already 3 elections. You have the ANC with the possibility of 2/3 majority to basically change those conditions. It has. There is no threat of a civil war right now. The ANC controls the army. It controls, and I'm sure amongst us here, there's some people from intelligence. He controls the intelligence. and so, what is the threat? Go. For example, what is this which stops us from changing our country? There's no. I don't think there's any particular reason.
Okay, I'll take the last 4. Oh, no, I'll do another round.
And I'll be short.
No, I won't take all the hands in the front. I'll take CC, Tag at the back, CC, number 4.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, what's your point? Because we have this culture of always complaining, but what are you going to do about it? At this point in time, what constructive thing can you do about it? Because there's no point in saying that we're not supposed to be in varsity because that's what the white man wanted us to do. But what do you want from your school? What do you want to
sorry, can I have order, please?
Mine will be very quick. I think you raised very critical things, and black people should not apologize for being black. We are black, we are Africans, and we are native to this land, and we should not continue to be exploited by the white whatever. My question is, in terms of land redistribution, how would you say, how do you trace the land to its original owner? You trace it from 1990, 1980, 70, or how are you going to trace it to the original owner of the land?
Well, my comment is actually talking about if you have the desire to kill someone but you don't have the power, I think you missed the point of it, because to my understanding, Andile was saying with racism, if you have the desire, if you do hate white people but you don't act on it, it's not an institution where you actually oppress them in the way that they have oppressed black people, then it doesn't actually, it's not racism in that regard. And this reminded me of Justice Bege and the apartheid institution. You said, I don't know, maybe you might help me there, where he went and he killed a policeman who killed a child, and he was surrounded by 14 other people, and they were all charged with murder because the apartheid government said that the 14 other people also have the desire to do it. Common purpose. Common purpose, there you go. So, yeah, if you don't do it, then you shouldn't be charged for it. If you don't act on your desire to murder, then you shouldn't be charged for it.
I think we should interject and take one more round.
Okay, sure. Let me just. Sister says we must stop complaining. See, this is the thing. I accept that point. We must stop complaining. And I don't also know if. You see, if we accept that this is a democratic plantation, if we accept that democracy does not serve us, I don't know whether we can legitimately claim that people must stop complaining. I think what we can say is we need to do the next thing, which is how do we get organized. But you see, it is also true that we have a problem. Most of us black people do not believe that we own this country. You see, so we need firstly to work in our minds, and this is part of that process of working our minds. And I know I am pushing the boundaries because I want you to be uncomfortable and to start thinking about these questions. we don't think about these questions. We accept it. I mean, you know, I always make the example of the trains every morning, if you can, you know, from our township. You must see our people are packed in those trains like sardines, hanging from outside the trains, and we have accepted this normal. That's what we call institutional violence. The hunger, the fact that people go to bed without food in a country that exports most of its food is something that should not be tolerated. But we're tolerating it, right? So all I'm saying is we need to complain, but maybe this is part of the... And we are very open to come to your residence or everywhere else to continue this discussion. Because there's a lot of discussion that we need to have amongst ourselves. I'm not saying we should not be at university. I was at university, and from time to time I registered, tried to finish my PhD as well. The point is that, are you aware that you're getting the education that wants to make you into a cat? And do you realize that you can take some of this education and take it around and serve the black cause? That is the only question I'm raising. We need to be aware at every time where we are, and I think we can turn these things around. It's just when the problem is when we accept them as natural. It's a natural progression, and you stop thinking about the black larger agenda when it's the original owners, how do you train them? My point is, we are Africans. I don't care where I come from. When I was in Uganda, whether I arrived here in in the 2nd century, doesn't matter. This is an African continent, and the argument that we must make is a simple one. Even white people who are here, we are not saying they must go away. We simply say, can't we just share equally, all of us? This is the only thing that we are saying. I mean, we're not saying anybody should, but these other guys don't want to share. This is the problem. They don't want to share the thing they took from us. You see, now that makes the thing even further, worse. All we want is equal share of the wealth, of the land, and all other profits. That, in fact, in Blackwash we say that we want black socialism. We call black, and it's different from these people talking about scientific socialism and workers. Workers will be liberated by us. Workers only want the salary. They will not go to we say black socialism. Black socialism for us is a simple thing that says every single one of us here should become a shareholder in the company we call South Africa. All the wealth that is in this country, me and you at the end of a financial year should be able to say, okay, now it's 10% that we get of the trillions that we're going to make. Some they'll take to education, others to health, roads, everything, and then they can say we declare dividends also. So me and you got 2 million in our pocket. Why not Mr. Kwale and the open must take all the billions? And me and you not benefit from the gold and the diamonds of this country. So that is what we call black socialism. Yes, there's going to be another round.
Okay, listen up. This round, 5 radical questions, please. I have you. Yes, you, sir. The gentleman there, with his hand up, and then Helen.
You know what? Just take the questions and then take all the questions, and then we might not even answer them.
No worries, we are here. And then, and then, yeah. Now take as they go, please.
The thing I have a problem is that we have to check the constitution is like 75%. And I don't think I can, we blacks don't trust each other to give 75% of power to someone to change something. No, certain persons to overhaul the constitution 75, not 230. And I can't trust one person to do that. That's the mentality we have. And the other problem is greed. If I go into politics right now, I'll tell you, the only thing I'm thinking of is not policies to change for the other 40-something people. I was pretending. That's all.
The second question, please.
Reorganizing ourselves and realizing we need a public to contribute. How then do we deal with this 3 processes which I want to highlight? Institution, information, and knowledge. First of all, I think you touched on universities and how they often, especially in sociology, where African knowledge or scholars are not included in the curriculum. How do we deal with that? I mean, as a citizen, in talking to establishments, I feel like we can respond.
Sorry, man, guys, we're out of time. You can even see that the establishment wants us to leave now, so it's fine. Just two quick announcements. There's Frank Talk outside, which does include Blacks Contra Race, which also includes the latest one, Philip versus the People, how ANC sold us a cup. And then the second issue is that when you walk out, please get this, and then please join Blackwash on Facebook. Can I have the register that was sent out by one of guys coming to me, please?